Susu, Boo Boo, Buster, and that guy.
I'm fine.
The Wolfman.
I'm
He's fine.
Yeah,
He's fine.
nothing happened. We're good. Glad that you're here.
You like the fact that what's where?
This thing,
Oh, that you can take
the
it
remote,
with.
and then you can move that around. And
Yep. We got a new keyboard.
yes,
With
not fun keyboard,
No.
practical keyboard.
Yeah. And it's wireless. So less wires, less tangling. Yeah. Right? Yeah. $20 big at Walmart.
Yes, I heard.
It's a big expense.
So,
I hope you guys are all doing well today. We're going to learn something new, as we always do, on Sabaton Wednesday.
Hey, listen, we're changing the channel up just a little bit, and we're going to let you know some things that are going on. One of the things that we're doing that we talked about was Free for All Friday. That's coming up, and she's got her version of that. I did mine last week. But also, we're going to still continue to do Sabaton. I think we're always. But I don't think we're going to do like the regular Sabaton Wednesday anymore.
Yeah, it won't be every Wednesday.
Yeah, because we're going to change things up, and
Yeah.
you know, and hopefully it'll be even more content all the way around if we get to change things up a little bit.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Hey, watch this. Watch this. Who am I?
Felix the cat.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so let's tell our friends that we're
Sorry.
going to give yourself a headache. What are we doing today?
We are doing the Caroleans prayer, Soldiers of the Swedish King, Sabaton history, and because we did not bind, for those of you that like the animated and told us to do that, we could not bind it. Well, with the animated, they usually have animated and they have the music video, but this is going to be about 14 minutes long, so just bear with us.
Yeah, bear with the ads.
And then we'll end the ads, and then we'll go into the music video as well. So it's Sabaton Wednesday. So,
Day.
not
No, it's
recommended,
recommended but not mandatory.
Yes. And a lot of you have not commented that you even know what that is. So.
No, they don't.
Humday's an American thing.
Okay, are you going to play it or?
I was going to. I was just trying to get everything set up. Dear.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Head in the box.
Head in the box.
I'm Indy Nidell.
Hi, Amy.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton History.
The soldiers of the Swedish kings, the Caroleans, were the elite soldiers of Europe in their day, winning great battles. Here are your tactics.
But their discipline, morale, and religious convictions were equally important. And that's what our song Caroleans Prayer is about.
Now, Joachim is going to tell you a little bit about the song in a minute, but first, I'm going to tell you the history.
In the 17th century, most European armies consisted of three types of soldiers. The levies, who were usually conscripted or otherwise locally raised men. The mercenaries, who were often experienced but expensive soldiers for hire. And guards units, who were the elite household units of the state, high in talent, small in numbers. The Swedish Carolean soldiers were something in between.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, look, the last Smirnoff neon lemonade. Let's get it, let's go.
I'm sorry, guys.
Ty Dolla Sign.
You're Ty Dolla Sign.
Ty Dollar sign.
Yeah, it's Ty Dolla.
The neon way
Dollar.
lemonade.
After the rather disappointing performance of the Swedish military in the Scandinavian War, which ended in 1679, in which they fought against Danish, Norwegian, and German armies, who they had thought to be their inferior, King Carl XI began reorganizing and modernizing the Swedish army in the 1680s. He developed a new allotment system where each Swedish province had to raise and equip a standing force of around 1,000 men in both war and peace times. Those men were professional soldiers who, in return for being given their uniforms, weapons, and plots of land to support their families, had a lifelong commitment to king and country until they were released from service. Or they died, whichever came first. Sweden, or the Swedish Empire, or just the Kingdom of Sweden, had never been able to maintain a standing army for long because of a lack of manpower and resources. Even at the height of its power, Sweden could not compete with other more populous European powers in terms of numbers and replenishment. So instead of quantity, they had to rely on quality. The Caroleans, as they were now called after their king, enjoyed the best training and quality of equipment the empire could provide. This emphasized modern flintlock muskets and strict drills in marching and firing, performed with live ammunition. Special emphasis was put on close combat training with rapiers, bayonets, and pikes. Now, bayonets were actually a rather new thing, so most of the musketeers were trained in fencing with rapiers. Since the Caroleans were now professional soldiers, they began to develop a certain feeling of uniqueness within Swedish society. The community was paying for their living, and in return, they were expected to fight and to die for the crown. But it went beyond that. Officers and veterans defined themselves as krigare, meaning warrior, and associated the word with a sense of pride in duty and merit. It wasn't just about the oath to the king or the regiment, nor the time they spent training, nor even their competence in leadership. The true test of the warrior was his baptism of fire during a real battle. Scars from wounds were shown proudly since they symbolized the blood shed for their king. And at the end of a Carolean's life, the scars they bore were the only proof of the hardships they had endured on the battlefield. And of course, their comrades who were also present at the battles experienced the same pain, fear, glory, anger, and joy. And society would never really understand it in the same way.
Morale and discipline unites them. A common faith to keep them strong. Always on their way to heaven. In the name of Christ, their enemies chastise.
Now, this feeling was true, more or less, for every soldier everywhere, but the Caroleans dealt with it in a different way. They had a certain camaraderie that was absent in the larger European armies, which was great for morale, but besides the strong camaraderie, they held strongly and even fatalistically to the Christian faith. Chaplains were common in European armies, but for the Caroleans, they were omnipresent. In the way battles were fought at the time, with lines of tightly packed soldiers marching towards and then shooting at each other, it was difficult to explain why one soldier died and the man next to him lived. The strong faith of the Caroleans convinced them that every death on the battlefield was simply according to God's will. Death did not come to them because they failed or made a poor decision or simply because of bad luck, but because death was already predetermined before the battle. God had already decided it, so worrying about whether you would survive a battle was pointless. All this did not make the Caroleans completely fearless or some sort of religious warrior fanatics, but it was a way of dealing with the stress of battle. And this strong Christian belief, in combination with the strict discipline of the drills, made the Caroleans highly motivated soldiers. If you take a look at how the Caroleans actually fought, you understand why a certain fatalism was necessary. As I said before, the Swedish forces had to rely on quality over quantity. This had to really translate on the battlefield itself. Long engagements with high casualties were unacceptable, and Sweden could not fight wars of attrition. Instead, they had to defeat their enemies quickly and decisively. Regular battle combat was fought in line formations where soldiers closed ranks to maximize the amount of firepower they could unleash on the enemy, so both sides would, as I said, march their infantry towards the other and then stop and open fire at a distance of around 100 meters. They would then reload and continue to fire. Artillery and cavalry were used to disrupt and break these infantry formations and exploit breakthroughs. But that could lead to long and costly engagements, the sort the Swedes were trying to avoid. So they had to beat this whole system. The Carolean musketeers would set up 4 ranks deep as they marched toward the enemy. But instead of halting to fire at the usual 100-meter mark, they continued marching. The enemy, of course, would not and opened fire upon them, but the Caroleans marched on. Muskets were notoriously inaccurate, but many men still fell from enemy fire. Despite the shock and despite the casualties, they marched on until they were around 50 meters away from the enemy. The saying, "Do not fire until you see the whites of their eyes," did not come from this practice, but it might as well have. The volley of gunfire from the first two ranks at such close range was far more accurate and far more effective than the enemy's, both physically and psychologically. But after the first two ranks had fired, they still did not stop or reload, but kept on marching.
Into battle, facing the fire, Lord, thy will be done. Into battle, walking in the light, see the light in their eyes, Caroleans.
Wouldn't it be great if you can manage and read your mail when away on business, on vacation, or abroad?
are marching on.
Instead of reloading, those first two ranks drew their rapiers and changed positions with the third and fourth ranks. Then they closed in on the enemy to around 20 meters, and now those ranks opened fire as well. At this close range, most bullets would easily find their targets and completely disrupt the enemy's ranks, and the Caroleans kept on coming. They did not stop to reload, but charged with cold steel, bayonets and sabers raised, into the enemy. Modern military historians support the thesis that although all armies had begun slowly equipping their soldiers with some sort of bayonet or bayonet-like weapon, actual charges were thought of as a thing of the past by most military thinkers at the time. Thus, the Caroleans, specially trained in close combat, crashed into disrupted, unstable, and frightened formations. The tactic was simply called gå på, which translates to walk on or march on. All it was swiftly marching through the enemy's fire to close with him. It was a very dangerous tactic and relied decisively and exclusively on personal bravery and aggressiveness. But done correctly, it could absolutely terrify the enemy and lead to a swift victory with minimal casualties. When you think about it, it arguably made the Caroleans the first modern shock troops. Breakthroughs would then be exploited by Carolean cavalry, who, in the same spirit as the infantry, rode very close, often knee to knee, to maximize their effect on smashing the enemy's formations. In many ways, the Caroleans were unique, and actually pulling off said gå på tactic was only possible through the strict discipline, the high morale, and the unique motivation of the Swedish soldiers at the time. The Great Northern War of 1700 to 1721 showcased the effectiveness of such tactics in battle after battle against numerically superior foes. But we'll talk more about this in the other episodes about the other songs from Sabaton's Carolus Rex album, a concept album about this period in Swedish history. Suffice it to say for now that as long as the Swedish army could avoid mistakes on an operational level, it was extremely tough to beat on a tactical level, and doing so would, in any case, require a huge loss of life from those foolish enough to try.
Now, the actual writing process for this song was a bit different from how you write most of the other Sabaton songs, yeah?
Yes, normally we do the music first and the lyrics comes later, since there's a lot of research to do for us usually.
Fair enough.
In this case, however, already as I was writing the song, the words "Tills han vitögat ser, Carolinen marscherar fram," which is basically almost what we sing in the lyrics. And it's, see the white in their eyes, Caroleans are marching on.
But I like that you said it in Swedish, because this song you can get in Swedish and in English.
Yes.
You have it in both. Now, why did you do that?
Well, we've had requests over the years that we should maybe do something in Swedish at some point, and we thought, yeah, but it didn't make sense for us to sing in Swedish if it wasn't about Swedish
About
history.
World War II.
Yeah. You know, Swedish people are decent at English at least, and no matter how good we think we are, it's still a second language. Writing the lyrics for this album was so much easier in Swedish, and also singing. You know, when you're singing, it's not only about hitting the notes, but also getting the vibe and the feel in there.
A lot of people miss that.
Yeah, and it's bizarre that I needed less than half of the retakes that I normally do when I was singing in Swedish.
tiden, våran kollega. Vi som lever att se Karolinen marschera fram.
But now this song, this has it has the choir, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite moments, actually, of recording ever. I don't know, for those of you who record music, sometimes things just turn out as good or better than you could even dare to hope. And this was one of those moments. And I'm standing there listening to the choirs being made as I'm singing Tills han vitögat ser Karolinen marschera fram. La sitt liv i Guds hand för sin konung och fosterland. Put their lives in God's hand for the kingdom and fatherland. And when I hear those words in Swedish with the choir and I'm singing it at the same time, I had to stop the takes because I was almost shaking, you know, and I got goosebumps already thinking about it. You know?
How many layers of chorus and choir were there?
Well, it's triple harmony. Usually we record male choirs, so it's like 3 to 5 guys who go in and sing the bottom harmony, the middle, and the top harmony. And the top harmony is usually where I'm singing as well, or joining in. And then we do the same for female choirs. So it's quite a lot of takes because we usually dub them as well. So we get them in stereo, so we go left and right.
Well, that's cool. And let's hear some of that. Well, that was fascinating. Thank you very much, Joachim. Caroleans Prayer is on Caroleans Rex.
And that's it for today.
But we will see you next time right here on Sabaton History.
All right, everyone, that's it for today. Remember to subscribe to Sabaton History, the regular Sabaton channel, but also remember to check out Time Ghost and World War II. If you want to see more videos like this, there's a playlist, cool stuff, you want to see it. And also there's a chance for you to get a special edition of our upcoming album, The Great War, if you go and join us on Patreon. So do that, and do that now. Bye-bye.
I think I want to do that because he's a scary man. No, he's not a scary man. So that was great, and I have some things to say about that afterwards, but let's listen to the song. How about that? Is that good?
That sounds good to me. I'm ready.
Are you ready? Love that organ.
Far beyond their nation's borders, there's an army on the march. For religion, king, and glory, in the name of Christ, their enemies chastise. Taking orders from the heavens, through hostile fire they will march. Unaffected by the volleys, facing death, their fate will keep the fear at bay. Into battle, facing the fire, Lord, thy will be done. Into battle, walking aright, see the light in their eyes, Caroleans are marching on. Put the lights in God's hand for the kingdom and for the land. See the light in their eyes, Caroleans are marching on. Morale and discipline unites them, a common faith to keep them strong. Always on their way to heaven, in the name of Christ, their enemies chastise. Into battle, face
Okay, so,
Well, as far as the music goes, the choir was the money shot, like you always say.
Yeah, the choir was definitely the money shot. And what we mean by that is the one part of a song that really sticks out, that really is so unexpected. I did a song when my brother Jerry died, and I had a part where I had children come in and sing the chorus, so basically the whole song. And I had a friend say that was the money shot, and it stuck with me. James Etheridge said that, and he's right. There's certain parts of songs that just come together and unexpected. He kind of says that in the interview. He says that about the choir as
and
well.
And how it just, he had a response to it.
Yeah, big kind of visceral response.
Well, especially singing the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father.
That was cool.
And behind him.
They sang it in Swedish, which was very cool. Love that.
That's the other thing I was going to say. Watching this, I so wished that I knew Swedish, because I feel like just hearing it, I'm going to go back and listen to it in Swedish, that it is a much more beautiful song. And probably more poignant, and translation just doesn't always work.
No, I mean, and I think if you just listen to the song in English, it would be fine, but knowing that it's done completely in Swedish, and the parts that are done in Swedish, for me, like you said, it's beautiful language. For being like that kind of Nordic, it's not as guttural as you might expect, whereas maybe German is more guttural, but that's just, I think it's gorgeous. I love the whole thing.
It's like butter.
And they
Just
sing
goes
better.
off the tongue like butter.
Like butter.
Like butter, Swedish.
He said that it was easier for them to sing as well, because English is their second language, even though they're very, very good at it.
So a lot less takes if they're doing it in Swedish. Yeah. They
But it
work
was great.
hard.
I loved it. I loved Tommy's playing on it. It was very, very
no,
good.
it was not Tommy. It was
Was
whoever
it?
they had before, because it was 2012.
Okay, so they didn't Tommy.
So it was a
Whoever
way
they had
earlier.
before was a monster.
Oh yeah.
Monster, yeah.
I don't know
very
the
good
lineup.
player.
All right. So what do you think about the history? It's pretty.
I love the history. I never
impressive.
didn't really know anything about it that much, because again, I mean, history taught, even history in college. We do a lot of American English, a lot of Civil War, a lot of Vietnam, that kind of thing. So I didn't know a whole lot, but what I did know is that this was done, he said 17th century, which would have been the 1600s up to the 1700s. And all I could think about was when the Americans broke away from the English, one of the things that they did was they stopped doing that. Here's a line, we're just going to shoot at each other, right?
Yeah.
Because the musket technology was getting better, the barrels were getting rifled, and so one thing that the British complained about is that they won't fight like men, right? They won't just stand up and shoot. No, I mean, they don't want to die. And so they're shooting from the woods, and they're doing more guerrilla tactics. You see a lot more of that, of course, in Civil War, where they're hiding behind things. They're not just marching at each other shooting. There was some of that, right? But then you get on into our history of warfare. It's much more guerrilla type warfare than just standing up and shooting at each other.
Right.
And I found that very interesting.
And they just did it without any type of what's the word I was going to say? Without thinking twice, basically, and went knowing it could or it couldn't be their time, and that's okay, and that was okay with them. So they had a peace about it, and then they started going closer and closer. Yeah, well,
like you said, the Swedish wouldn't abide by the 100-yard rule. They keep marching, and because they thought, well, if you die, you're supposed to die.
Right.
Which I kind of believe that too. I mean, I kind of believe that if it's your time to go, it's your time to go, and you can have as many priests there, whatever you want, but that's a discussion maybe for another channel. But so they just thought, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die, so we're going to keep moving until we get closer. And a lot of that was, again, because of the musket technology, at 100 yards, however many meters that is, it wasn't real accurate. right? And so they'd shoot, and you know, they were shooting over here. This guy over here falls down, right? Because so they get closer and closer, and within 50 yards, pretty accurate. And then he said they switched places and brought the third and fourth lines up with their muskets, and the other guys went back and got their swords and stuff. Muskets at 20 yards, muskets at 20 yards. Yeah,
Deadly.
Pretty deadly.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I liked the whole thing. I love we've talked about this before, as far as the music goes, very simple melodies, simple words. It's all about, you know, he's talking about history. So
At one point, you had said that they were almost like, Sabaton songs were almost like war marches or war anthem songs.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
the style of them,
that way,
and they tell stories along with it. So
specifically, when I said that, I was thinking of, you know, all the marching songs that we have, and the Germans, especially in the early 20th century, 20s, 30s, and 40s, that were very catchy, and it wasn't complicated melodies, anything. It was just so catchy. In fact, you know me, I hear a song and it could be about anything, and I'm singing it, and you're like, why are you singing that song? It's catchy.
Yeah.
Right? So, well, guys, we love you. We thank you for coming in, and loved this as always.
So, what are you going to say? If you like this video, then like, subscribe,
share with your friends,
share,
hit the notification bell,
notify, and comment
down below, baby. We need suggestions and comments.
Okay.
And also, before she does that, check out my other channel. It's called Cover to Cover. There is a band with the same name. I didn't realize that when I titled my channel. But it's basically, you go over there and you look and you'll see what it's all about.
Yeah, and then there's a link to one of your videos on our homepage, our channel homepage. So good for you. Then I'm doing whatever I want inside, and you're out here, and you get out of my hair.
Yeah, it's great. Good.
All right,
Good
everybody, be blessed.
And please don't hurt anybody.
Nope. That's a big nada on that. Big no on that, dog.